that is to try and capture some of that great ideas and great thinking from our illustrious panellists here today, but also share some of the thoughts and wisdoms from around the group.
12 months ago right now, when we were deep in level 4, the golf sector had a lot on its mind, right? And you folk at the coalface, not us, cushy old administrators sitting back, but you folk at the coalface looking after golf clubs and looking after turf. It was quite harrowing times, right? Like we couldn't get golf course maintenance, and we had problems with being able to play golf at 4, 3 and 2, and how we were going to navigate that, and it was quite a difficult period of times. If I reflect on the learnings out of that, is that there was strong strength in being together and united around what we were focused on. There was really strong collaboration across all the different bodies. There was really strong unity at golf club level around, okay, let's follow the rules, let's understand what they are, let's communicate well with members. There was a lot of people doing things collectively. It's been really good to see the way golf has really progressed. I think a lot of sport and recreation activities are seeing an upsurge, and that's only natural. Being locked down, and people came out of it looking to reconnect with recreation, sporting activities, whatever. That the gains golf has made are ahead of most other sports, and we're seeing that in most markets. New Zealand is perhaps slightly ahead in some metrics, like membership, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But golf is certainly doing very, very well comparatively to other sports. I mean, most sports have had an uplift, but golf is really tracking well.
We've seen a huge reset of people's values. Never, I suppose, in our generation, if we put so much emphasis on our health. And without our health, we realised really quickly we had nothing. And this pandemic sort of really slapped us in the face with that and said, look, you're neglecting your health, then what else is there? We then saw the focus on family and the bubbles that sort of brought out. So it was the reset of people's values from, geez, I've been working so hard, I've been grinding away, I've been living to work, and just sort of that was this continuous cycle to hold on, reset. Without your health, you've got nothing. Without your family, you're now really connected to your family because you're living with them. And in level 4, we were homeschooling, we were doing all sorts of things. We were jungle gymming with kids and climbing trees, and it took us back to, I suppose, definitely took me back to my childhood and what was important. Yeah, when we reflect on the last 12 months, that's really what I sort of see was this reset of New Zealanders' values, and I suppose world values to prioritise our health, our family and our social coming together. So that was really cool for us. And I suppose as a result of that, we've seen this surge in people playing the game of golf, because it delivers on all those values, if that makes sense.
For the managers, obviously they had to go through a lot of change, and some of it was very hard to deal with. Like there was a number of clubs had to make people redundant or change the level of work that people were doing. So governance come into it a lot. There was a lot of emergency board meetings. We were lucky that the Zoom effect came in, and a lot of the clubs were using Zoom meetings to have those board meetings, which solved a lot of the problems.
Through speaking to a lot of people around here today, and obviously the numbers that Golf New Zealand and Dean's teams are producing there, we're seeing a huge demand for people playing the game, increased memberships, increased rounds played, and we're seeing demand. So I suppose there's two areas of focus that the PGA professionals and I suppose all people that are working at the coalface are focused with is number one, making sure they get a really cool experience when they come to the golf club, and then how do we keep them there? So it's those retention programs, and not just keeping them there, but getting them to come down more and more.
We've got that new group of people aged, I think, 25 to 45 that have re-engaged with golf or coming completely new. Now, I don't know how many clubs have engaged with those people just to find out what they're looking for in golf. Is it a short-term solution so they've got time on their hands? Maybe they're working from home. So we need to find that out.
Sure. Firstly, the numbers thing. you know, they are quite extraordinary what's going on in terms of the uplift. And I just had a look before that, you know, from July to December year end, so those 6 months, back half of last year, the rounds played were just over 25% up on the same period last year. So 25% uplift in the amount of rounds played, which is quite significant, right? Huge growth. Year to date so far was 16% up as of last night, and that can, year on year, can be a bit fiddly when you take it to a period because it can include a weekend or not, but you know, it's at least 15 to 20% up on same time last year. So in the middle of summer, you know, we're still seeing rounds climb against the year before. So huge number of extra rounds being played. Membership this morning is 12.1% ahead of the same time last year. We're up over 118,000 members of golf clubs, over 135,000 registered casual golfers, and the membership stat alone is the highest number we've had in a decade that have been paid members of golf clubs in New Zealand. What's most interesting is we're seeing the people coming back to the game that have previously held handicaps. Now, we've been holding central handicaps since about 2000, so 21 odd years. The amount of people we're seeing pick up old scoring records from 10, 15 years ago is significant. So people re-engaging, coming back to the game, reconnecting with what's important to them.
We've packed the course up more, but we've also created a maintenance time in the afternoons on Mondays, which has helped us to do a lot of the invasive maintenance practices that we'd normally do in amongst play when it's a bit quieter, away from everyone, and be able to let everyone, the golfers, when it is busy, enjoy their game without us interfering too much. Obviously, a big part of our membership wasn't too pleased about that, the guys that normally played on Monday afternoons. But again, we were trying to sell them on the fact that if you want a high quality golf course, we do need to prepare and maintain the turf to be able to handle the increased demand and the increased traffic. And subsequently, the feedback that I'm getting now, and we're all getting now, is a lot of members are going, wow, actually it's made a huge difference, and the course has come through this summer in a lot better shape.
Yeah, definitely from a golf equipment, golf ball, golf bags, trundler's point of view, we're way up. The increase in participation and the passion that people seem to have for golf all of a sudden caught us all a little bit by surprise. I guess the downsides of that I see probably more than most travelling around the country and dealing with general managers and PGA pros is the pressure that goes on them. There's a lot of stressed people at the moment. They're just having to dig deeper to handle the volume. You know, a couple hundred people play, somebody's got to print a couple hundred cards, maybe take a card fee, sell them a drink. In the case of Murawai where I play, that's often one person to handle 200 people in a day. So it's not all upside, but you know, as a general rule, things are going pretty well.
The work our team's quite interested in, and what we're trying to think through is how the customer experience piece we can use data and technology to help automate a lot of that engagement that golfers have with our facilities. Very, very different. You know, 200 clubs in New Zealand have got less than 200 members, don't have any staff. You know, even for the biggest clubs in the country, having staff and technology doesn't help you manage the golfing interactions with 1,800 members. It's a very difficult thing to do when you're bloody busy and trying to manage everything else. So we're thinking through how we can use data and perhaps automate a lot of the kind of trigger points of a golfer's activity through a year, and how we can keep engagement up by using data and technology to do that. Perhaps for the first time in a long time this year, we've got a project in development around encouraging adult golfers to get into golf. It's not a space that we've really focused on the last 10 years. We've been quite focused on young people, women and girls, and other kind of markets for very good reasons. But we're going to have a crack this year at trying to get adult golfers into golf.
So opportunities first and foremost. For us, the big focus is on retaining those new customers, those new consumers, those people that have come back to the game. And that's, you know, we're seeing a huge influx in kids playing the game. And we're seeing a huge influx in that age bracket, 20 to 40. And on Des's point as well, it's really important that we don't neglect our traditional members and the ones that have been the core focus and the cornerstones of our facility. So it's a bit of a juggling act, to be perfectly honest. We're seeing those 20, 30, 40 somethings loving that 9-hole, winning a meat pack, having some banter with their friends afterwards in the clubhouse in a twilight event. We're still seeing the traditionalists loving their club champs and going away and playing pennants and representing their golf club. And we're seeing youth going out there and just making it up and just having a whole heap of fun out there on the golf course. So it's making sure that the PGA professionals or the golf operations people that are at that coalface are able to meet those consumer needs and are able to say, look, yeah, come as you are, you're welcome here at our facility. And it's one of the wonderful things that we've been seeing is so many golf courses have broken down their traditional barriers and have said, hey, look, come and play. We're a welcoming community facility. And
I think youth and women and girls are one part. Cultural diversity is another really big thing for golf and a big opportunity for us in terms of what the face of New Zealand looks like now and in 20 years' time, particularly in Auckland. For our part, we've decided we need some real strong leadership in this space and have employed a diversity and inclusion lead, someone to look at that space and what it can mean. We've done a lot of work in cultural diversity in our work with New Zealand Māori golf. We've done a lot of work in young people and women and girls, but it's just scratching the surface. And my take is there's only upside here. We're at a base level now, right? And if you just take women and girls, and we get fairly openly criticised around focusing on women and girls by the people in the golf sector and people out of it. The way I look at it is that we've got about 20% of the golfing population, just above that, are women and girl participants. So that to me is a big opportunity, right? And same if you look about it from the percentage of population that golfs. Of our 5-odd million people, 15-odd% golf. That means 85% don't, right? So there's a huge opportunity there for it to grow our sport. The women and girls opportunity is probably bigger.
A lot of the traditional things in golf, women's days, this days and that days, will probably, I think we need to quietly change that. The young people that are coming in are using carts, they're getting involved, they want to have a bit more fun, they want to play on a Saturday morning as a couple. They don't want to be standing there saying, this is the time for the woman, this is the time for the men, this is what you go in, this is your duffers couple, whatever you're playing in. I think some of those traditional things are slowly getting broken down and people are just more enjoying the experience of playing golf.
So a lot of smaller clubs jumped on with online tee booking, saw that as a medium of getting people signing up and registering and for the whole COVID contact tracing and everything like that. But also the bigger clubs, Wairiki for example, they came on board. They noticed they weren't within that sort of platform. They were more focused on the international tourists. That market disappeared, so they came on board as well. We then got into the digital scorecard space and tried to help promote that contactless environment during that time, and all of those sorts of developments are now going to springboard future initiatives.
In Walton, the number of people playing is more, but it's the same members playing, and their bar takings have gone up, which are good because the people have been staying at home, but they haven't had more members. So some clubs are doing very well, and there is adding to this 12.5%, that's true. I think the 200 that you said that got less than 200 members, Dean, I think those guys probably are still, they haven't seen a huge change. They've seen more people on the course, so I still think there's some huge opportunities there to try and get them events, try to get them people. Overnight, if the borders open, even Australia will make a huge difference to some of those big, it's almost an extreme. The top resort courses still are having their difficulties because they're just not getting the numbers. And how many times will a local go and play Jack's Point or Cowrie Cliffs at the rates if you don't get the discounted ones? Possibly once or twice, and you've done that. And I think Millbrook or Queenstown's already noticing that. When we came out of the first lockdown, a huge number of people went to Queenstown from Auckland. That's kind of quietened down a bit now. I mean, there's huge parts of Millbrook that still haven't opened in terms of the accommodation. So there's a lot of opportunities. We still desperately need the borders to open, and I think that would continue, even though we've seen the locals giving a huge lift to the industry. If the borders open, even to Australia, I think that would give the potential you're talking about, Dean, to continue with that growth, because suddenly all of the industry would benefit from that.
Well, I mean, with all the boom, we're seeing people wanting to play the game and enjoy it a lot more. So that means coaching. So that's just gone, say, through the roof at the moment. We're seeing some sort of facilities booked up 2-3 weeks in advance. The demand is very, very high. From that side of things, it's just continuous business as usual there, with us educating a highly skilled workforce to be able to meet that demand.
Look, there is a high performance component to this discussion. I guess it starts more at the talent development end with the young players that we take away overseas each year to get experience. We, across a 12-month period, have 30 squads or teams that we'll work with travelling overseas. So right now that's all stopped. And look, the thing I've noticed probably the most is the resilience of the young people involved. It could be a really, really tough time for them to have lost that opportunity to travel internationally, but they've seen the opportunity to develop different parts of their game. So I guess that's one of the great things that we've noticed, internally from the athletes themselves. Our tournament team, the PGA, we've looked at our own tournament structure and what can we do differently here. You saw the innovation with our stroke play week before last, introducing the young professionals, getting some funding through the Renaissance Brewery. So, there's stuff that we're doing internally to support those young players before they can travel. Some of the young pros are being pretty brave. They're taking on the world and enduring the MIQ 2-week period. They're front-footing that cost themselves to go and travel internationally. So, that is a pretty brave step to take for them. And we look forward to the borders opening again, but we've also got to go through an Olympics in July and August, so that's going to be an interesting time in itself.
One thing I've been really impressed with is the work that PJ and his team have been doing with Kiwi Golf Club and engaging with a wider community. It's all social media based, and the way they put together competitions at certain golf clubs. So that's just engaging with a cross-section of the golf clubs at individual level.
The Kiwi Golf Club's probably a good little study in perhaps where part of golf certainly going to head. We talked earlier about gamification and virtual clubs, virtual leagues, that's kind of a little case study right now that our team's deeply behind supporting what's going on with Kiwi Golf Club, and we see that expanding its reach through that club and many others that will come. I think that's certainly something we're going to see in the innovation space.
I think for the younger generation, just reaching out via social media, it's just so easy. You're so accessible. You can get things sent through to your phone, and if you're up for that kind of thing, why not? And I think, because I work at the Harbour Golf Club as well, I've found using social media, especially for an event I just did on Saturday afternoon, the feedback I got through reaching out via social media, it was great.
The thing I'm most interested in is probably all of us and the workforce and how we can innovate and perhaps have some more critical thinking. I think we all know customer-centric stuff. We've got to have the right kind of packages, the right kind of coaching, the right kind of environment and welcome. But the adjustment needed on the thinking side of golf, I think, is the bit that I'm most interested in. So, when we think of, the people in this room, very good people, good thinkers, these are the people fronting up, wanting to engage and wanting to learn. I'm worried about all the people stuck out there that are really under stress and really trying to think about the way forward. And things are kind of good right now, but there's also, to Denise's point, a lot of people that are, working really hard and perhaps not seeing the uplift just yet. So, innovation around how we can collectively think and collectively take the game forward, I'm quite interested in. I want to thank NZGIC for pulling this together. They're really bloody useful, these sessions, and I encourage you to keep going. Those of us that enjoy it will keep turning up, and hopefully we'll bring some stragglers in with us.